Um, Today's topic is about ESG, digital transformation, with respect to the frontiers technology like AI, blockchain, and IoT. And then I'm going to, in step by step, to go over from the general topic to a more specific topic today. So it'll take 2 hours to explore whole things that I prepared today. So first I'm gonna talk about is a ESG ecosystem. So I would like to know about what is the landscape, what is the status, and what is mean by ESG, and what's the matter with ESG. So first will be ESG Investment Matters. So some of you may in ESG field and you already knew about these topics, but some you new to in ESG, but you may heard about the ESG is a hot topic in investing area, and also in individual companies and society, and even nation and international society. So with respect to investment, so the first one is that the investors, the generation of investor will change. So they call the millennials. So they continue to drive what this means is the ESG investing is rate social and environmental and government, and mostly in environmental and social issues. The millennials are willing to pay something that relate to this value. So they will drive some new type of investment that relate to ESG. And then also Harvard Law School, the corporate governments talk about the shared values for the ESG. So the shareholders also to press that the executive should consider ESG management in their regular activity and operation of the company. And also here is one thing, just it is as of the like a fund, right? Here is 53 trillion by year 2025 is about a third of the global AUM in global fund. So it's huge amount. And then Bregla's push on ESG. So is largest like investment firm and drive this ESG that they're willing to like invest the company actually that exercise ESG in their operation and management. So here is some brief tutorial about what is on the ESG fund by Wall Street Journal, so you can learn about something.
There's a big trend in investing. You can see it on this chart of inflows to ESG funds. They peaked in 2020. ESG funds say they judge companies on environmental, social, or corporate governance factors, and they aim to attract investors looking for a more ethical approach.
ESG funds have been around for quite some time, especially in Europe, where the trend has really been sort of ahead of where we are in the US, but it wasn't until last year that we really saw an explosion of interest.
Many of these funds have recently outperformed the markets, but regulators say they may not be all they claim to be. We'll explain why. The tension around ESG funds has to do with the way that they're built. There are a few strategies, including exclusionary, single theme, and best in class. Let's start with the exclusionary approach.
So when a portfolio manager takes an exclusionary approach to making an ESG fund, they'll basically decide what category of companies they don't want to have in their portfolio, no matter what. A really common category for this is weapons manufacturers, for instance, or tobacco companies or casino operators. Those types of companies are commonly totally excluded from ESG funds.
Other ESG funds tie themselves to a single theme. The index ticker SHE tracks gender diversity by including large companies with at least one woman in a key leadership role. That includes companies you might recognize like PayPal, Home Depot, and Netflix. There are also ESG funds tied to solar energy and water, which promote sustainable use of natural resources. Funds like this can help an investor put money into companies that might improve society. ESG funds can help an investor reach their moral goals, but the funds have also earned solid financial returns in recent years. A Wall Street Journal analysis of ESG equity funds found that nearly 150 of about 200 funds outperformed their benchmarks. That's driven by tech stocks, which are commonly held by ESG funds. More than half of these funds hold Microsoft. Nearly half hold Alphabet. In other words, ESG funds are betting big on tech. But critics have questions about tech companies' inclusion.
Tech stocks are sort of interesting problem when it comes to ESG because a lot of these companies do have relatively strong environmental practices.
By 2030, Microsoft will be carbon negative, not just across our direct emissions, but across our supply chain too.
But then on the other hand, they may have some serious problems when it comes to the S component of ESG. For instance, we have companies that have come under fire for their data privacy issues. We have companies that have been criticized for the way they treat contractors and third-party workers.
But here's the catch. A fund manager can just use looser criteria for which companies it includes in ESG. This makes it easier for more companies to qualify, even ones that seem counterintuitive to the overall mission. One such approach is called best in class.
When we asked BlackRock last year how they were putting together ESG funds and still including major oil and gas producers, they said that they tend to take a best in class approach. An oil company could still belong in an ESG fund if it's shown to have done better on ESG principles than its competitors within the same industry.
Using a best in class approach means that a company only needs to be better on ESG principles than their competitors. But an investor doesn't always know how that fund is built.
The problem is a lot of investors don't tend to read the fine print that comes with all of their funds when they're deciding what to put their money into. They may just be attracted to a fund because they see the name of the ticker or the name of the fund itself and think, that seems to align with my investing goals. But when you look under the surface, you'll often see there are companies in these funds that don't seem to align with the stated goal of the fund. And that really comes down to the fact that there's still no standard definition of ESG or what constitutes an ESG fund.
These details matter because they can change how the fund performs, but critics say that they can also compromise the fund's stated mission for high ethical standards. Recently, critics in the federal government have sounded the alarm on sustainable investments. Here's SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce talking about how companies are assessed for ESG funds.
We see labeling based on incomplete information, public shaming and shunning wrapped in moral rhetoric, preached with cold-hearted, self-righteous oblivion to the consequences which ultimately fall on real people.
And it's not just the SEC. The Labor Department proposed a rule this summer that would make it more difficult for 401k holders to put their money in ESGs. The department says the rule is needed to protect workers from investments that aren't in their best financial interest. But pension fund managers and Democratic lawmakers say the Labor Department's proposal would undermine a tool of positive social change. Regulators are still considering whether or not to change any rules. Some lawyers and regulators think that there should be more standardization across ESGs to prevent investors from being misled. And others say it's a step in the right direction to have Wall Street thinking about sustainability at all.
Okay, so you know about now what's the matter with the ESG investment. And then with respect to the individual companies, now actually the ESG management is boom. Now every company, nearly every company talk about ESG in their regular operational business. And here is some example. This is Apple. So Apple talk about, we believe that business at its best serves the public good. So this is very interesting topic that the before ESG actually what they talk about is a shareholder value. So the top priority was shareholder values, but now the top priority is public good and environment, society. So this is like an interesting change, dramatic change in the the ethics or the philosophy of the company exists. And then also there are like companies express how they contribute in ESG. So they provide the ESG portals to talk about their effort. And then also here is a P&Z about how they make effort to contribute in ESG. And also S&P Global unveiled a new ESG sustainability organization. So it's nearly all S&P 500 companies actually participate in ESG management. And then here is about the G, Toyota, and even the Samsung display, like a Samsung CEO talk about how they can invest in way to do ESG management. So this is a boom and trend now. So now you understand in the corporate level and then in the investment ways that what is the matter with the ESG. And then here is some information actually. The reason I talk about is that there are so many like reporting framework guideline. Up to now, there is no any mandatory reporting. Mandatory reporting means that like 10K or something like in US that the companies usually you're in the public, then you have a requirement to disclose your performance to the shareholders, the stakeholders. But the ESG still does not have that scheme, so there is no any compulsory ways to report. But there are a lot of the volunteering, that the voluntary reporting, that because the ESG is very important to like investor relations and get the investment and have a like a customer relationship. So there is a trend that almost all company, even big and small company now try to disclose their ESG effort. But here there are like many type of the like a different type of the reporting framework guidelines. So, and then I just put in the boldface is somewhat important. Many companies following their framework guideline, like a CDP, GRI, IFRS, and SSASB. Typically, I'm going to talk about this topic more detail, and TCFD and SDG is United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and also there are like a WEF. So this is some computing that should be clear. Okay, so this is the one actually I show in my previous ESG webinar. Actually, this is summarized by the AI. So before the topic was how AI can apply to ESG management and ESG investment. So previous topic is about how AI can have to analyze the current trend. So this is based on AI summarization of the trend, but the content is actually there is a collaboration to develop ESG standards among. Here is a lot of the framework guideline. They try to have some ESG standard, globally working ESG standard, that collaboration. And there is it's coming a compulsory requirement to disclose related to ESG. One is a European regulation. So it is on active now. So it's applied to some investment industry, like fund managers, that you need to disclose that the policy integration of a sustainable risk in their investment decision-making process. So it will be extended more and more that the government and some like authority in the global and country level, that they will require some like disclosure, ESG related disclosure. So it will be in a certain time that there will be mandatory disclosure requirement even in the United States and in South Korea and other countries. And also here is a trend that the COVID-19 pandemic. So there are several issues related to social relationship, like inequality or the like racism. So there is a more social issues to be focused on in ESG in the priority. And also Joe Biden the price like net zero greenhouse gas emission by year 2050. So the government policy will drive so ESG management. Okay, so this is the whole topic, actually, what topic, actually, what kind of knowledge you should know about to be understand the whole ESG ecosystem. So I explained in the previous ESG webinar that how I can generate this. Actually, I use AI that I developed, and then I iteratively, and then with a collaboration with the AI, I got this knowledge map. So maybe I can show you this one. It's much better to see that. So ESG knowledge map is like ESG is they are all related to some investment and economic system. So they are related to green bond or sustainable impact to socially responsible investment, or they are also related to circular economy in here. And then they include the ESG include environmental, social, and government. And then environmental is the environmental sustainability or stewardship. So they can be divided to some subtopics, like here is a climate change is the most important topic, like global warming. So in the climate change, you can think about what is the greenhouse gas, right? And then you can talk about GHG emission and monitoring, something that I'm going to explain detail in later about these subtopics. And then also here is a green energy, like a renewable energy, clean energy, or something like that. They're replacing the coal type that generating the GHG emissions in the traditional powerhouse. And also here is a latest in the circular economy, also latest waste management. So this is a big topic, like how you can recycle it, and then how you can treat the like wastewater or something like that. So this is another topic. And so there is a big topic like natural resources. And mostly you talk about the like scarcity of these natural resources and how can preserve these natural resources, especially like water. And also there is an issue with the pollution. And then regard to social, this is a social responsibility. Then how you can actually support your community, like a local community, how you can contribute to some socially good things. And then also there is human care, so human right, and then relate workforce related. So human right means that the labor issues and some of the like discrimination or harassment, whatever, all relate to work related or the human right related issues here. And then the workforce is directly related to the like employee or the potential employee at the workplace, and mostly workplace safety and then health or the well-being or the just how you can treat your employee or something like this is the topic considered in here. And then also the business relationship is the most important for the company. So they relate to like how you care your customer. So like how you can qualify or you provide high quality service and product, and how you can be responsible for your product or something like that. And then also in the business relationship, we also have a partner care. So your supply chain management partners and other like relate to your outsource partner, that how you can be treat equally and treat in a right way with your have your relation with your partner. And also is a big issue that the privacy and cybersecurity issues that you heard about the ransomware attack for the oil, like a transfer, like a company that actually the pipeline company got by this ransomware. So they have a lot of difficulties in the regional like oil supply, something that you heard about it. Also recently there was a cyber attack by some Russian related like hackers. You can heard about a lot of the data breach in here. So if you have something this happen also relate to like they ruin your reputation or your trusty with your like customers. So this is a big issue. So actually I'm going, my next ESG topic will be this one. So I posted my webinar invitation just 1 hour before this webinar, but I'm going to share you that this is a big topic. So I'm going to more focus on some individual hot topics. So this topic will be my next webinar. And also governance is like a corporate governance, like governance practice, how the board members independence is, how you shape like the stakeholders engagement, and some of the like how they can do democratize to their participation, like a voting system, and also code of conduct ethics, and also how you do legal compliance, and then how you can be like in a corporate management, you can more like ethnical and anti like how to avoid like anti-competition or the bribery or the corruption. So this is whole topic, but this topic actually I got from my interaction with AI and all other like information I gather from the website, and then it helped me to understand the whole scope of this ESG. Okay. And then here is some ESG recommendation actually. So basically this Professor Ashford, I actually I was when I was a law school student quite a long time ago, that I have a background in PhD in technology, and then attending law school. So I was interested in is there any interface between technology and law? And then I found that in MIT that he is a director of the like technology and law program in Sloan School of Management. I also attended before. So so I sent a letter that I'm a law school student, and I have a tech background, and I'm now in law school student, and I'm interested in taking your course, and he allowed me to in his class. So I personally took his class. But here is the reason I like is that the technology, right? So this is one topic. So I have seen the most of the ESG related like information in if you Googling or in the Amazon. Actually, they avoid this topic, avoid or something missing this topic. But I think the technology is really, really important to ESG, right? And that's why I'm doing today's topic. And then globalization. So globalization, I think that this meaning will be changed because of COVID-19, and the sustainable development is still there. So I like this topic. And then my goal, actually, my goal is I want to replace this very, very good topic book by my topic. So I want to put in some contribution in technology replaced by the current state of technology like AI, blockchain, IoT that I'm going to talk about. And then also, this is mostly in sustainability in relate to environment, but he also talk about some of the like social issues like job, like human factors, and but he didn't talk about like a corporate governance matters. So I want to put something, but I want to do this kind of topic. So that's the one that actually I have hard copy, and I want to introduce this one. And this is another MIT professor's book that this is actually quite a good book. Okay, so I finished the near introduction by the reason I take more time because someone missed, I think that I'm not familiar with the ESG, so I want to have enough time to you understand what is the ESG. And then I'm going to speed up from the next topic, because I understand that I look at my registered attendee, and then 2/3 actually from technology space. So the title will be the CTO or the engineer, something related to AI, blockchain, IoT, and digital transformation. So I can quickly over there. If you're not with the technology, then some topic might be you need to understand, but I'm going to go over this topic. So this is a very big topic. So I have a separate webinar for this kind of topic that usually I spend more than 3 hours to cover this one. But I'm going to, in 10 minutes, I'm going to introduce this topic. So this is everything that actually I summarize everything that visualize what you can understand in AI innovation state of art. So actually the computer vision. So you know about the IBM Watson system. So actually you can diagnose cancer very exactly. And then also you can recognize image, and then you can recognize face, and then this is all the computer vision. And also there is AlphaGo, or this kind of the StarCraft players in the AlphaStar, related to some game space or some performance to compute with the who can be better in game, or some a Go or other chess or something like that. And also there is a big contribution in scientific discovery. And also here is the creative AI. So recently there is a natural language processing, like a transformer, they call the transformers, the Google Spot. And the OpenAI is GPT-3, that they can generate the human language. So they can create some films, or there's a novel or something like that. So some creation activities will possible. And then also there is AutoML is the AI can learn about the AI. So they can provide the algorithm without human intervention. And then this is a recent topic, the artificial intelligence, emotional AI, so that they can understand the human feeling, emotion, and that they can apply it. Actually, this is one topic that I summarize in later, that this topic actually Microsoft now apply in the workspace management. So they look at their employee emotional status, and then they try to provide they ease the stress in the workspace or something like that. So it can be related to ESG matters. And also there is more human human brain mimic artificial intelligence now developed on the way. So that's it. So this one okay. So next one, actually, I cannot show you whole because it's more than 10 minutes, but I want to show you some snapshot that what the AI can contribute to ESG, especially that this is Microsoft AI for Earth project.
Innovation hinges on our ability to see things differently, breaking boundaries and looking between the lines in an effort to solve some of the world's toughest challenges.
Hello, Build. I'm Dan Morris from the AI for Earth program here at Microsoft. AI for Earth's job is to put Microsoft Cloud and AI tools to work for environmental sustainability. And today my goal is to get you excited about doing sustainability work on Azure. AI for Earth supports the sustainability community in 3 ways. We're a grants program, we're a data program, and we are a technology development program. Through our grants program, we support over 500 organizations all over the world with the resources they need to scale environmental research to the cloud. A great example of one of our grantees using AI and machine learning is an organization called WildMe, a nonprofit that makes open source software for wildlife population monitoring. And in particular, WildMe uses computer vision to accelerate the painstaking task of identifying individual animals in photos, which is really important to getting accurate population estimates for many species. And while this is a very challenging problem algorithmically, it's conceptually straightforward. Here's a picture of a whale shark or a giraffe or a zebra. Is this an individual animal that we've seen before? And even if machine learning can narrow it down to 5 of the thousands of animals in a database, this can profoundly amplify scientific productivity. For example, in the last 10 years, WildMe has identified more whale sharks than were recorded in the entire history of whale shark research before they showed up. To date, more than 10,000 individual sharks have been identified by over 8,000 citizen scientists and nearly 200 researchers. And that is a scale that just couldn't be achieved without vision-based acceleration. And like many of our grantees, WildMe makes their work available to the open source community. So if you want to get involved, check out WildMe on GitHub. Another organization we're proud to support is Conservation Science Partners, who do all kinds of amazing work at the intersection of data science and environmental monitoring. One of their recent projects is another great example of putting machine learning to work for conservation, using their open source framework for estimating forest mass from aerial and satellite images. So if processing huge volumes of images with machine learning is your bag, check out Conservation Science Partners' work on GitHub. And speaking of
Okay, so blockchain. So actually the blockchain is very early stage technology compared to IoT and AI. So AI is more than 50 years and IoT is I think more than 30 years. Actually, I used the IoT 20 years ago. So, but the blockchain is very new, and only that the blockchain is was a hot topic because of Bitcoin, but blockchain is more than that. But it's still early stage, so it's not, the technology is not complete. So some part actually requires huge advanced in innovation to get the mainstream. So some of the actually the here is more issues than actually the achievement. So the interoperability problem. So there are many different type of the blockchain exist today, but they are not communicate each other. So interoperability issues. So there is some trial like Cosmos and Polkadot and Plasma. A lot of it layer 1 is a fundamental level, layer 2 is a subside, it's a side chain level, but here is some attempt, but still early stage. And also here is like Ethereum tool actually to make some limitation of the current state of art. So it's the prototype is launching, but the first scope launching will be need to be wait more. And then the reason that I actually talk about Ethereum 2.0 is here is an issue. The reason that the CBS News talk about the Bitcoin mining alone could raise global temperature under 2 degrees on average in 2 decades. So actually the blockchain can contribute a lot for this ESG, especially the environment issues. But on the other hand, the Bitcoin has some specific process so that they call mining. Actually, the reason is a public chain allow the all type of the participant without any limitations. So they want to protect against the more like malicious participant. So actually they employ the power walk, the algorithm, consensus algorithm, but they require some huge amount of processing, and then they require like a GPUs or the i6 or some other like a special type of the process to solve the problem. So it actually suck up a lot of elasticity. So you may heard about like in China the Bitcoin mine and spend the electricity that can span in the whole city can spend. So that's the issue. So Ethereum 2.0 is the next version, will be in the different like state of is a powerful state. So it is less consume the electricity, so more eco-friendly blockchain system. And also the issue with the scalability, speed. So his is a very tough problem to solve. And then you may know about like Ethereum or the Bitcoin, like 10 to 50 TPS. But usually, if you using the every transaction like your credit card, at least it should be 50,000 transactions per second. So there are many trials to that, and also some other here is some specific. Here is some expert compute. Even the expert compute is that there are blockchain is not the technology for all scope. Actually, it's a part of the like a decentralized ledgers technology, and then blockchain is part of that. And then they call different type of the decentralized ledger technology. They call DAG and IOTA and low-cost chain. And actually, they can improve somewhat in the blockchain scalability, but still in on progress. But recent also there is topic like how you can like verify your credentials. So they call self-sovereign identity, decentralized identification system. So this is very useful to verify your identity. And then also I show you they were using in the ESG area. So this is the topic that, and then also here maybe something like there is a recent boom is NFT, and if you're in the blockchain side, NFT is a non-fungible token that the tokenization means that it represents the value. So they represent value of some unique asset, like what is a digital art or this house. Or recently, I heard that there's some of the like artists or the sports players, they have a unique skill and expertise. So they put in their skill as a valuable asset, and they put in the NFT, and then they also scrutiny whether they can be anti like environment like that. And also like Elon Musk talk about that he bought a huge amount of the Bitcoin already this year, and then he actually put into like a dramatic raise of the Bitcoin price. But now he said he will stop accepting Bitcoin for car purchase because of the environmental concerns. So I'm not sure about what is his background mind, but in basically in surface that they want to be keep in ESG compliance. So this is all about the blockchain. Okay, here is one project I want to introduce is how blockchain can be used in the reduce the carbon, actually that they can be used in the carbon credit trading.
Today I'm wearing a different hat. I'm also got a couple of board roles. I'm chairman for Europe at Securitize, the STO company. I'm vice chairman of SBox, the leading crypto prime dealer here in the independent crypto prime dealer here in the States. And then I'm chairman of Universal Protocol Alliance. So it's wearing the UPA hat that I'm here, and really this is all about carbon. So that was just context. I'm going to share some slides, so let me just do that, and let me just make sure that they're full screen. And this shouldn't take too long. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly, but I think it will make the question session more interesting if you've got the context. And so, you know, I wanted to talk about digitizing carbon credits. And the reason I want to talk about this is because we think we have the opportunity to help everyone in the world, every individual, every business, to begin to participate actively in making the world a cleaner place. But today, the carbon markets of the world are very disorganized, very fragmented, very inaccessible. Large companies participate in the government carbon credit markets, what are called the cap and trade markets. And so BP gets ranked and rated in terms of how much pollution it generates. And then it has to go off and offset that pollution by buying government issued carbon credits for the most part. And those aren't really accessible to most of us. So the world's population at large can't buy those things. It's very difficult. And then there are these things called voluntary carbon credits, and that's what I'm focusing on right now, that are issued by rainforest protection projects or solar projects or wind projects or carbon sequestration projects. And those can be bought, but even those are not easy to buy, and they're still, for the most part, paper-based. And so what I'm going to talk to you about right now is what we think is a breakthrough, the digitalization of carbon credits and all of the derivative opportunities that then creates. So I do have to flash this up because these are actually crypto commodities. They are purchasable and tradable. So I just have to make it clear, I'm not soliciting for you to buy them. I'm just telling you about them. It's educational only. This is who the UPA is. We're actually a coalition of leading primarily US blockchain companies. Bittrex International, that I know a lot of you are aware of, Uphold, Ledger in France, Certiquet, Infinigold in Australia, Hajiaka is Greg Kidd's investment vehicle, the co-investor of Twitter, Square, Ripple, and so on, and then ourselves at Fifth Era. We're trying to build the coalition, so we're looking for companies and blockchain projects that want to join. And our vision is that every asset will be tokenized, and we're focusing on cryptocurrencies, stable coins, and crypto commodities. So in the US context, we are digitizing everything that rolls up to the CFTC, the Commodities and Futures Commission. The SEC oversees securities, and that's not what we're doing. Securitize is an example of a company that is tokenizing securities. There are lots of benefits of digitalization. I won't go through them now. We've basically been building a token factory. We had issued a token of our own, UPT, in order to make it possible for the UP Alliance to build out a tokenization factory that can substantiate and tokenize anything in a very rapid and seamless way. And the first three things were stable coins. I won't talk about those. We've tokenized gold and other precious metals are coming. And today I'm just going to focus on the two things on the right-hand side, universal carbon, UPCO2, and then Bitcoin Zero, which is an example of a derivative product. And I'm hoping that some of you will come up with your own ideas about derivative products or other ways of benefiting from digitized carbon credits. So I will talk a bit about Bitcoin Zero as a case study, just so that it may give you ideas for what you might be able to do. So why does this all matter? Well, I think we all know why it matters. Climate change is probably the defining challenge of the next generation and probably of our generation too. The world has got better in many, many, many ways in our lifetimes, but the collateral damage of all of our innovation and change is that the climate has been getting worse. Or at least the environment has been getting worse. It's up to you whether you think the environmental degradation is also creating climate change. That's, something that scientists are almost all in agreement around, but I know a lot of individuals don't quite believe it. And it is hard to disaggregate what part of climate change is driven by environmental degradation and carbon releasing, and what portion of it might be a longer term cycle the Earth is going through. So I don't want to debate that. I mean, the reality is the Earth's a dirtier place and there's more carbon in the environment than ever. And that we've got to believe is not a good thing. Carbon credits, as I already outlined, both the government ones and the voluntary ones, are really quite important because we're trying to find global solutions that everyone will buy into that will make it more expensive to pollute, and conversely will reward those people that are finding ways of making the Earth a cleaner place. And you're going to be hosting in Glasgow. I say you because I'm assuming most of you in the UK. You're going to be hosting the United Nations COP26 conference in Glasgow in November, and that will be a major focus of this topic. There's a couple of points on research there. 90% of millennials think that this is one of their top issues, and they're very worried about it. And it is also the #1 investment themes in some of the surveys, and there's Greta on the cover of Time. The problem is we're completely off track. So just to give you a sense of this, we don't even have the capacity to offset the polluters with the carbon credits that are currently being created. And there's a huge gap, a huge shortfall, but, according to the World Bank. And that's a big issue. In practice, it's primarily because there is no global marketplace and no global price. So it's very difficult to match demand and supply. And as I've already mentioned, most of you wouldn't be able to easily buy a carbon offset even if you wanted to. And if you did want to, you'd pay a big premium for the privilege. And so what we need to do is we need to remove carbon. This is, again, sort of a chart that's being broadly distributed by Peters. And it's a very interesting one, but basically forestry is one of the most effective ways we can solve this problem. Because every time we chop down a tree, its carbon goes somewhere. And in practice, a lot of that carbon does go into the atmosphere. It's true that as trees fall in a forest, which they routinely do, their carbon goes into the ground and gets reutilized by the plants. But we don't, human beings tend not to cut trees and let them decay where they fall. We tend to burn them, and so they go up into the atmosphere. Of course, it's taken millennia for all of the oil and gas of the world to be created, and we're at a relatively quick pace releasing it into the atmosphere. That, of course, is mostly decayed vegetation. But when it comes to trees, we are particularly good at eliminating them. And when you go to a place like the UK, once it was forested, and now very little of it is. So just to give you a little bit more context, REDD+ is the name of the form of carbon credits that are backed by rainforest voluntary projects. And these are, they come in different flavors, but for the most part, someone has taken a piece of rainforest land and they have gone into a long-term agreement to protect it on the one hand, so to stop it being cut down, to also hopefully improve it, and in some cases to reforest it if it's already partially cut. And you can imagine it's in the greatest rainforests of the world, so it's in the Amazon, it's in parts of Central Africa, the Congo, Kenya, and so on, and in Southeast Asia. Those are the big rainforests that we have left. And so that's what a REDD+ credit is. And the best ones are highly verified and monitored by organizations like Vera. The demand is skyrocketing. So large companies see that if they actually offset their carbon footprints by buying government-issued carbon allocations, that's one solution. But they also want to be able to demonstrate that they're having a positive impact on the environment and biodiversity and so on. And so most of these companies also buy voluntary carbon credits, as including the REDD+ carbon credits. So we set about tokenizing them. We're not the only people to have gone after that challenge. I was an advisor at a Viridium, which tried to do the same, and in fact had working carbon tokens a couple of years ago. And also I'm an advisor at Spark, based in the UK, which is successfully tokenizing the cap and trade government carbon allocations. But
okay, so the next topic will be the IoT. IoT is an Internet of Things. Actually, it's a two component. Thing is a sensor can recognize or identify the environment of its sensing environment, and then they are connected. So networked interconnected sensors can detect or recognize the surrounding environment and then they communicate their collected data through the internet is IoT. So recent trend is that they are integrated with the 5G and Edge AI. So Edge AI means that the traditional way of you doing some computing is through your data center or the hosting center or some cloud. But the recent trend is that there is more distributed way to your sensors like exist. So for example, smart factories or the transportation system or the healthcare system, all are sensors all around the place, so they are linked. So it's the only way to process in a right speed is to make your computer system as far as nearby to your like data collecting system. So they call the edge computing system. So now put into your like AI engine, not in the cloud, in the like a remote side, but in the like very close to your like a local site. And then also like they exploiting the advantages of the 5G that now currently deployed in mostly in United States and in the South Korea and Japan and other country. So actually the 5G has some characteristic here is network slicing characteristics. So they can divide by, so they can allocate their spectrum depending on their speed or depending on their application like a latency or something like that. So they enable new type of the application based on IoT. So IoT sensors can communicate very high speed, and then they connect to like cars or the transportation or the factories or something like that. So this is a new trend actually. So IoT also has a very contribution like environmental monitoring or some workspace monitoring, that topic I'm going to cover later. So here is a final demo that this is very short.
I feel a great responsibility as someone who understands technology to use it for good. Cities are at the forefront of battling climate change. Cities have made promises and they don't have all the answers. That's where BlocPower comes in. What we're creating is a platform for buildings. We're taking dumb buildings and making them smart. We start with data. We've created a technology solution to the engineering challenges and created a way to manage the financial risk. It's fine to do one building, one community, but our mission is to do a lot more than that. And if we're successful, there will be thousands of buildings out there, cities built upon BlocPower's technology, and we needed an enterprise partner that can help enable that vision. At BlocPower, we use Oracle IoT Asset Monitoring Cloud to help us scale our business. Today it's energy efficiency, but tomorrow it might be something else in the workflow that makes a city run. We need to have confidence that we can deliver on that. Because that's what our enterprise clients, our mayors, that's what they want. They want a partner that can help them deliver on smart cities. Let's deliver on the future.
Okay, so here is one thing that I'm a patent attorney, so I intensely use the patent information to understand what the current state of the innovation. So this is the one that I did for the AI and blockchain and IoT. And then